What's going on? Fuck. So, once again, this is going to be me hopping on a train that is fucking left the station. Every time one of these videos happen and there's a bunch of responses coming out for it, I feel like all of these dudes who make videos, they've got it covered. I don't really need to do it. But then once I have enough time to think about it, I'm like, well, fuck, maybe I should just do it anyway. And that's what this is going to be. This is going to be a response video to one of my favorite people, Mr. Myke C-Town. He made a video over a month ago called my 20 favorite album covers of all time or something like that. And I actually wanted to make this one a while back. But within about a minute of giving it any sort of real thought, I realized a lot of my favorite album covers look very similar to one another. So that kind of put me off. I didn't really want to make a video where 10 of the album covers were skulls and candles and the other 10 were snow and trees. So I sort of implemented a bit of a rule on myself with this one, and I decided that I'm only going to use one album cover per band. And I tried to vary it as much as possible. So I guess if I was being 100% honest, this video would look a little bit different. But I love all 20 of these album covers. And there's actually 21 because I'm going to show you an honorable mention. And it's the only CD I'm going to show in this video. But before I get into that, this is what we're listening to. This is the new Vampiric Blood album, Howling in Candlelight. Fucking, this is my favorite album that's come out this year. I am fucking in love. The first real track on this thing, Bleeding for Satan, is probably my favorite song that's come out this year. So, fucking well done, Vampiric Blood. Super impressed. So let's stop the babbling. I'm going to show you my one honorable mention here. I considered just leaving this out altogether because it's very inappropriate. But then I decided, fuck it. So I would say my one honorable mention would be Waco Jesus with Filth. Yeah, I love real pictures as album covers, and especially with something like sort of grindy, brutal death metal, something like this just fits fucking perfect. So I'm not gonna, I mean, there's not really any reason for me to really talk about this because I really don't want this video to get flagged. If I had Destruction of Commercial Scum, I probably would have used that instead. But then again, I probably would have been more hesitant to show that than I was to show this. So, just some crazy fucking art all over this CD. If you guys have never seen it, it's fucking crazy. But I love Waco Jesus. This is my favorite Waco Jesus album. Just super fucking nasty US scum grind. Yeah, I love it. Alright, let's start this off properly. Here's number 20. Number 20, we have Autopsy with Severed Survival. I absolutely 100%, without a doubt, prefer the uncensored album cover, the original album cover, to the censored one, which is sort of like the surgeons looking down with like the light in the center. It's a cool album cover, but I absolutely, without a doubt, prefer this one. It's very graphic, it's very gruesome, and it also really sets the tone for the sound of this album. It's just nasty, it's mean, it's fucking gross. And like I said, man, this just fits. This album cover just sort of embodies everything that Autopsy is, in my opinion. I fucking love it, man. And like I said, I absolutely prefer it to the alternate album cover. Number 19, we have Vital Remains with Icons of Evil. I'm not a very big Vital Remains fan by any means. I really kind of only like this album and maybe Let Us Pray. But besides that, I really don't care. But I love this album cover. And the thing is, man, like you would think with all of the bands that sort of are themed around like anti-Christianity, you would think that something like this would have been done. But I've never seen anything like this. Obviously, it's a picture of Jesus being crucified, but it's very graphic. I love everything about this, man. I love the angle they used. I love how the hammer has 666 on it. The dude's wearing the Baphomet ring. It's like Jesus is all torn up and shit on his side. It's just fucking awesome, man. Like I said, I really adore this album cover. If I had done this an hour from now, this could have been higher on the list. But yeah, I truly adore it. Super fucking cool. Vital Remains, Icons of Evil at number 19. A bit of honesty, if I wasn't so biased, this would probably not be on this list. But at number 18, we have The Used, their self-titled debut album. I don't know, I really don't feel like any other album cover could sort of look the way that this album sounds. The girl with the cracked face who did show up in like the booklets of like a CD. I think it was maybe the third album, if I'm not mistaken. But I remember they did something like this later on, which I thought was cool. Something about this, man. I love the sort of like medical looking images of like the teeth and shit like that. And then there's like the sort of harsh doodles of like buildings and stuff like that. I just really like this, man. It's very simple, but it definitely gets the point across. So number 18, The Used. Alright, number 17, we have Macabre with Sinister Slaughter. So obviously this is a sort of spoof on a Beatles album cover. I have no idea which Beatles album because I could not fucking care less about the Beatles. But obviously this sort of took the idea that the Beatles had and replaced all the people with serial killers or just infamous people throughout history. And it's cool, man. This is one of those album covers you can look at for a while and sort of notice things that you hadn't noticed before. And then in the foreground you have the 3 band members looking very silly. But this absolutely fits with the whole Macabre's sense of humor, I guess. But I love this. I think it's great and it absolutely fits. So Macabre, Sinister Slaughter, number 17. Number 16, we have Satanic War Master with Opferblut. I really like this album cover because of how simple it is. And despite the fact that it is very simple, it's very big and bold. Just the iconic image of the werewolf, just black and white, very simple, gets the point across. I love this album cover and I really love the album. So yeah, number 16, Satanic War Master, Opferblut. Number 15, we have Cold World with Melancholy. Or Melancholy 2, I don't know, it's got the little squared symbol in the album title. Now from here, it just kind of looks like a white album cover with maybe the band logo on it, but you'll see that it isn't. It's just a winter landscape with a guy on a horse. And you'll see a couple trees to the right of the album cover. But I fucking love this. And I think more than any other album that I'm going to show here, this album cover really sets the mood for the album itself. And the song on this album called Tortured by Solitude is easily the best song that this band ever wrote. If you've ever seen something like this in person, it really does sort of feel very grim and cold when everything you're seeing is just one color. Oh, man, I love it. I love it so much. So that's number 15, Cold World, Melancholy 2. Number 14, we have G.G. Allin and the Holy Men with You Give Love a Bad Name. This album cover really screams G.G. Allin. G.G. Allin sort of described himself, you know, the outlaw scumfuck. And I think this album cover really embodies that. I love it. It's just him sitting on the side of fucking train tracks, drinking, probably Jim Beam or some shit. I can't actually tell from the cover. But yeah, I love this, man. It, like I said, it really just sort of embodies who G.G. Allin was in the late 80s. And I don't think they could have picked a better cover. So G.G. Allin, You Give Love a Bad Name, at number 14. Number 13. This is the most recent album that I've become acquainted with in this list, but I really could chalk this up as being one of my favorite album covers of all time. This is Ariel with Aurora Borealis. I don't know what it is about this, man, but it's actually an extended cover, like the front and back make one big cover, which you will see. Just the picture of the mountains, and there's a lake with the fucking northern lights above it, and there's like souls in the northern lights. And the songs on this album are very thematic in the sense that they're all about the northern lights and the artist's experience seeing the northern lights in person. And the music on this album really puts me in this sort of scene here, and I can't describe it, man. I truly adore this. I think if I had sort of known about this album for longer, I probably would have had this higher on the list because it is truly one of my favorite album covers ever. So number 13, Ariel, Aurora Borealis. Number 12, this is probably the most classic album that I have on this list. I kind of wanted to avoid using an album cover from all of the fucking main Norwegian black metal bands. I probably could have, but again, I kind of wanted to vary this as much as I could. So number 12, we have the self-titled Burzum album. The songs on this thing, and even the song title, sort of bring me back to this album cover. Like Feeble Screams from a Forest Unknown, sort of really makes you feel what this album cover is showing here. There are not many albums that make me feel that way. A lot of the albums on this list do, but this is only 20, and I've seen hundreds and hundreds of album covers. So I think it goes without saying, but this album cover had to be on this list somewhere. It's one of my favorites. Again, it's pretty simple, it's very dark, and it definitely gets the point across. So, number 12, Burzum. Number 11, we have Havohe with Dethrone the Son of God. So again, I really like the real pictures being used as album cover thing, and this is one of the best. It's very silly, but at the same time, it is sort of very eerie. You know, from far back, you can't really even tell what the guy is doing, and I guess from up close, you can't really tell what he's doing either. It looks like he's looking at the blood on his hands, but he's also very concerned that there's blood on his hands. I don't even know why I like this album cover. I know between cuts it's no time, but I kind of spent like 30 seconds looking at it. I don't even know why I like this, but I truly love this album cover. Not much to say, I love everything about this record in general. And the album cover is definitely a silly one, but I do really enjoy it. So, yep, number 11, Havohe with Dethrone the Son of God. Number 10, we have another super nasty one. This is Cephalotropsy with Uterovaginal Insertion of Extirpated Anomalies. So, this album was kind of my introduction to, like, super ultra violent, like, brutal death metal slam type shit. I'm not really sure if it qualifies as slam. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I honestly don't know. This album really sounds like the cover looks, and the cover looks terrifying and disgusting and just probably one of the most gory album covers of all time. And I think just counting right now, I think I can count 5 or 6 dead babies. You can see the sledgehammer in the back with all the dead babies and like the fucking saw. Just her fucking legs are gone. One of her arms is gone. Her hand is fucked, her boobs are fucked, her face is fucked, her hair is fucked. She's fucked. But I do really like this. The longer you look at it, the more you can just sort of really see how fucked up it is. But I do actually really enjoy this album cover, and I really love this album too. So, what's that, number 10? I think we're at number 10, Cephalotropsy. Yeah. So, a little bit ago I said that Burzum was like the only classic album cover that I used. It's not, because we have Oliver here. Natan's Madrigal? I probably didn't say that right, but this is definitely my favorite Oliver album cover. I love the style of painting that this is. I love the silhouette of the wolf howling and the massive fucking moon. And you have like the tree in the background. It's just like sort of mountainous shit, but I think mainly what I love about this is just the style of painting that this was done in. Really, the first 3 Oliver album covers are really, really cool, but this is definitely my favorite. This is one of the best Norwegian black metal albums probably ever. So, yeah, you guys are all familiar with the music, but the album cover is definitely something to marvel at. So, number 9, Oliver, Natan's Madrigal. Number 8 is Mutilation with Vampires of Black Imperial Blood. Initially, when I was making this list, I had Rattenkönig on when I was just sort of writing it out. But when I actually went to grab it, I kind of forgot I had this version of the album. And I remembered how fucking awesome the album cover is. This album cover is definitely superior to the other album cover that you generally see for this album. This is the other album cover right here. But I definitely prefer this version over this one. But yeah, man, something about this is just really fucking creepy. The look on old Maynard's face here is, he looks very angry, and then Mordred looks fucking terrified. And obviously we all know of the classic image of Mordred on the back of this thing. This is one of my favorite Mutilation albums easily, and everything about this is just perfect. So at number 8, Mutilation, Vampires of Black Imperial Blood. So I knew I wanted one of these super high contrast black and white images of a guy in corpse paint. But again, I didn't want to riddle a whole video with fucking Dark Throne album covers and shit like that. So I landed on this. This is Kraft with Terror Propaganda, and I have this in at number 7. I think this is probably my favorite of these sort of images. It would probably either be this or the Live in Leipzig album cover. Or maybe Transylvanian Hunger too, that's a good one. I guess the only difference really is the lack of a candelabra. It's just a very pained look this guy has on his face, and I like the sort of hand thing that he's doing. And the sound of the album definitely matches with the album cover. You know, it definitely reminiscent of like the second wave black metal stuff that was coming out of Norway at the time in sound and in album cover. I love it, man, and it's definitely worthy of the number 7 spot on this list. So that's Craft with Terror Propaganda. Number 6, I know. I thought it was going to be Humanure, but something about this album cover is even creepier than Humanure. Humanure is very gross, but this album cover is very creepy. Obviously, it's very gross. The guy's like peeling out his insides and his skin and shit like that with all the fucking legs and shit hanging behind him. But just the look on his face is very, very eerie. And I guess I never really noticed it before. Obviously, I'd seen this album cover a million times, but I never really looked at it. A lot of like the ones that came out after this are definitely just sort of more gross, and some of them are even kind of silly. I feel like this is definitely the most serious album cover, and I fucking love it. So number 6, Cattle Decapitation, To Serve Man. Number 5, Aborted with Coronary Reconstruction. So I really love the style of art that this is. A lot of the sort of death metal stuff with art that's even kind of similar to this, a lot of the times it looks very stupid. It looks fucking super cheesy. It looks like bad CGI, but this album cover is quite a bit different. This one is very realistic looking, and it looks very psychotic, and it feels very panicked. Just the look in this dude's eyes, you know, it feels real, and I really, really love it. He's pumping nails into a fucking heart, and then there's a dude doing like an autopsy on the guy in the back. You got like the jars of shit on the shelves, and you got the red light bulb above his head. It looks very real. Again, man, if I had done this a different day, this could have been higher on this list, but as it stands, number 5, Aborted, Coronary Reconstruction. Number 4, Sargeist with The Rebirth of a Cursed Existence. Obviously, this is a compilation that came out in like 2011 or something like that, but definitely more than any other Sargeist cover, this one is my favorite. And again, it just feels very scary. I picture this album cover as being like homeboy's hanging out, you know, he's doing his makeup, and it almost feels like a sort of ghost experience. Maybe he hears something and he goes to investigate. He grabs his candelabra and he's walking through like dark hallways, and that's what this feels like. That's what it looks like. From the very first second of the very first song on this thing, which is called Reaping with Curses and Plague, which is probably my favorite Sargeist song, it truly feels the way it looks, and it's very, very creepy. I love it. One of my favorite covers ever. So number 4, Sargeist, The Rebirth of a Cursed Existence. Number 3, we have Mortuary Drape with All the Witches Dance. Again, it goes back to the real images. So I can't actually tell what we're looking at here. I'm not sure. I think it's just like an old lady, but she's very dead, decomposed to the point where she's pretty much a skeleton. I love how it's basically, there's just a dead body laying like on a table with like overgrown grass, and there's candles all over the place, and this body is very rotten. The face is gone, the dress is just black with fucking decay, and it's just nasty, man. And I love this album. I love this album cover. It's one of my favorites. So number 3, Mortuary Drape, All the Witches Dance. Number 2, we have Mare with Spheres Like Death and Throne of the 13th Witch. So, had I been a bit more honest with this video, a lot of the album covers could have come out looking like this. I really, really loved something about the skull and candles thing. Very ritualistic feeling, very witchy, and I love stuff like that. The sort of excess smoke at the top, and just this skull right here. And you got like a, looks more like a monkey skull on this side right here. I don't know, man. It absolutely looks how it sounds. And there are the individual release for, I think it's Spheres Like Death. It's kind of like this. It's got like a skull with a raven and candles and shit. That one could have been on this list too. I don't actually own that one. But this is absolutely a worthy entry into the list at number 2. So that's Mare with Spheres Like Death and Throne of the 13th Witch. And number 1. Acid Witch, Witchtanic Hallucinations. This absolutely is my favorite album cover of all time. And maybe it's a bit of a controversial one. I feel like there's a lot of things that, you know, I probably just sort of thematically should like more. because this is very colorful, it's very busy. It's pretty much the opposite of my favorite album covers. This album cover sets the mood for this album so incredibly perfectly that every time I look at it, I really feel what this album sounds like. It's very dark, it's very doomy, and it has a very witchy feel at times. This witch here has the Necronomicon. She's performing some sort of ritual with a dead body and like a cauldron of green bubbles, and she's in a cave with the fucking candle. Everything about this album cover is 100% perfect. I have a flag of the album cover that I bought and then immediately moved, and I don't have any flags up in here, so I literally bought it for no reason. But I think even knowing that I wouldn't have put it up anywhere, I probably still would have bought it anyways. I don't know what it is. I honestly couldn't tell you. I'm looking at it now, and the feeling I get is exactly what this album sounds like. And this was done by one of the members in Acid Witch, but it's just perfect. I don't know what else to say. I adore it more than I adore any other album cover. Yeah. Number 1, Acid Witch, Witchtanic Hallucinations. So yeah, that's it. 20 albums, 20 album cover, 21 album covers, I guess, because I did show a CD. But I'm gonna end this here. I've got a mess to clean up, and this video is gonna take a shit ton of editing because this is about 40 minutes of footage that I'm gonna have to edit down. So yeah, you're fucking welcome, because there's a lot of work going into this shit. And of course, I will link Myke C-Town's video below for those of you who, for some reason, may have not seen it. So yeah, thanks Myke C-Town. Thank you guys for bearing through this messy ass video with me. If you want to leave your favorite album covers in the description, please feel free to do so. If you have any similar ones to me, if you think any of the ones that I chose are absolutely shit, fuck it man, let me know, I don't know. So yeah, we'll be back to doing the normal shit very soon. So thanks for sticking around, and see you next time. Later.